Hello, everyone, and welcome you to Mojo for Industry Development debate on electrical safety, powered by Captain Electrical Industries. The knowledge partner for this session is International Copper Association India. Safety partner is Remedies Earthing Systems Private Limited, and co-sponsor is Gupta Power Infrastructure Limited. We all accept that electricity is a blessing for the mankind. At the same time, we must also acknowledge that electricity can be devastating if it's not handled properly. Statistics reveal that there is very high rate of serious injuries and fatal accidents due to improper handling of electricity. Nearly one-third of home electrical fires begin with ignition of wire and cable insulation. India has witnessed some of the deadliest fires due to faulty electrical connections. In Mumbai alone, around 80% of the fires take place due to this reason. Therefore, as our structural surroundings are becoming increasingly vulnerable to such incidents due to increasing urbanization and growing population density, there is an urgent need to create awareness about the best electrical safety practices. Today, in this Mojo for Industry Development debate on electrical safety, we will discuss on the best practices to ensure electrical safety and prevent accidents in buildings. We are glad to welcome our distinguished panelists for the day. Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, founder and president, Pankaj Dharkar and Associates. Mr. Devdas Goswami, senior advisor, International Copper Association India. Mr. Balachandran Dharman, Director, RR Global and ABW Electricals, and Mr. S. Gopakumar, Managing Director, KP Electric. So to start with, Mr. Dharkar, could you talk about what will it take to create a genuine electrical safety culture in India?
I think for me, it's a long way, but all of us, for that matter, all societies, whether it is the International Copper Association, Fire and Security Association of India, and various bodies have to work together to create this awareness with sessions like this and many more to happen, create awareness amongst all stakeholders of build and engineering industry, whether they are engineers, whether they are architects, whether they are developers, decision makers of all big organizations which are creating and building this nation. I think it's a big responsibility to all of us. Also, I see a lot of active involvement of Gopa Kumar from this group and many of us who are on this debate attending through digital media. I think it is important that the way countries' project sizes are changing, the sizes of various utilities changing. It is important that we also contribute with our experience to refinement of our codes and standards, which we believe that is a continuous process. It cannot be static. You cannot work with the codes which existed in 70s or 80s or 90s. The technologies are changing. The new materials are getting developed. We just saw various types of cables are getting introduced. Similarly, in electrical field, there is a huge R&D happening on various equipments, ancillary materials, and it is our duty to ensure that they the codes and standards also gets complemented with this new technologies, new material, and creating more and more awareness is a key, will be key of success. So that's what my input to you.
Mr. Goswami, would you like to add your comments?
Yeah, what Pankaj has said is absolutely right. I would like to add a little more. One is that we have got enough rules and regulations which are a class apart, and in fact, it is at par with all international standards. Then our implementation is very poor. So the most important part of these things is the implementation. We must have a proper implementation regime. That implementation regime starting from design. So electrical designers, there should be some accreditation system for the electrical design. There should be proper selection of products and system like cable. It must be copper cable, that may be mandated. Third is about the verification system. Now, most cases, the testing is not done as Gopal Kumarji was saying. So, as per the electricity regulation, for all low voltage installation does not need any inspection. It is only self-certification. You must have a assessment system, mandatory assessment system in place as per the regulation. And then only there should be some fair side policies. There should be some verification regime. Electricians should be accredited and electrical contractor must be accredited. There should be a proper system of checks and balances. Then only the things can improve. Otherwise, nothing is implemented. I think that's my point.
Gopal Kumar, so would you agree with what Mr. Goswami as well as Mr. Dharkar was saying?
Yes, you see, we also have the documents and system which is at par with any other nation. But the question is, who is following? So when we explain about the regulation and how it has to be read and how the standards need to be read, okay, nowadays a lot of engineers are interested and they are taking it up in the projects. But for example, in Britain, whenever there is a new wiring regulation, the entire electrical engineers are educated and they have to attend trainings and they have to write an examination to get qualified to continue as chartered engineers. Then only they can practice their profession. Whereas such system is not existing in India. If that kind of a system comes, of course there will be some improvement. Over to you.
Gopa, I would like to add that in this country, a draftsman or a non-educated person can also become a consultant and take decisions of hundreds of crores projects. And this is very pity, I think. You rightly laughed at me, but I must tell you that people doing one or two projects in our country with some consultants, at a draftsman level, they become consultant.
Yes, so, very unfortunate.
And then you can even see the fate of what is going to happen, sir.
True.
Even architects is deciding about the electrical requirements in most cases.
Sir, non-qualified architects, they are not even qualified architects. Draftsmen in architectural firms become practicing architects and they employ such people only, and that is a quality. So I think what point you draw is very important, that there has to be a qualification for X person to do X levels of jobs, and that is not existing. It doesn't happen in US that I start my consultancy business and howsoever I can be qualified, I can start doing a 5 crore or 10 crore job. It goes with your experience, it goes with your work, and that is how you build your organizations of consultancy in other developed world. But in my country, unfortunately, there are no such rules. So you're right, Gopi. I think it's a need of hour that the government should wake up.
We would like to hear from you as well.
Thank you, Subhajit. Unless there is a strong penalty levied, these things will not be implemented. For the simple fact is, all of us are aware that metro rail is there in every city in India. In fact, there are many cities which are coming up. Thank God, God forbid, touch wood, till date, metro, the network is working well. Why? Because it had a person called Dr. Sridharan who ensured that standards are not diluted, and he ensured that template is used by different metro projects across the country. So unless you have somebody like that, in my view, if the PMO's office decides today with the amount of money that is getting into infrastructure now, that this is the way it should happen, and if there's any deviation, there'll be strong penal action taken, then every professional involved in this trade, because of this, what is happening is it is bringing a lot of fly-by-night manufacturers who manufacture products to fulfill such low standards. So it will bring in a lot of good manufacturing practices, and it will eliminate the draftsman turned consultants away. So it will ensure that only real professionals are there in the business, and at the end of the day, all this brings safety. So if it requires the entire industry to stand together and then put up a draft or a proposal or a request to PMO's office, because it is scary now that huge amount in the last 50 years, whatever we have spent in terms of building infrastructure, that is going to happen in the next 5 years. So you can imagine the kind of money and the speed at which all these projects are going to come. And the biggest casualty in this is going to be safety and electrical safety. We are having 2 buildings which are going to be brought down in Delhi by Supertech. Why? Those are part of safety norms which are not being followed and violations. So why can't it be implemented for electrical products also? So if there is any violation, ensure that the entire project is either stopped or it is redone or whatever. So this can happen only if strong penal measures are taken. And these penal measures, it is there in NBC, but it needs to be implemented.
So I would like to add here. Actually, if you look at our regulations and the methods these are drawn, low voltage system is under, for most of the states, it's under the notified voltage. That means this is not the job of the electrical inspector. But probably what the electrical inspectorate could have done is, 2015, the Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer has been, this designation or designator regulation has been made by the CEA. And most of the states are yet to implement it. Such state governments should not delay such things, and they have to immediately start doing it. And they have to see that the Chartered Safety Engineers are able to do the work with respect to, they are educated, they are knowledgeable about what is the safety requirements recommended in the standard. But this whole part is lagging. Totally, it's lagging.
Yeah, here I would like to add, as you said, is right. The Chartered Safety Electrical Engineer, there has to be a system like accreditation of the Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer. An online test, as it is done in the case of an electrical auditor or energy auditor in the case by BE. And overall, an Indian system and the centralized system has to be there, which can be implemented by each state to accredit this Chartered Electrical Engineer. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yesterday I was in a seminar where the RERA chairman, a very senior IS officer, was part of our debate in a national seminar, and he incidentally was from Gujarat cadre. And I asked him, "Sir, do you know that in the city where you are living in Ahmedabad, there are 17 fire stations, and 70 lakh people stay in Ahmedabad. In these 17 fire stations, there is not a single electrical engineer." So he couldn't understand. He said, "What do you mean by this?" I said, "The fire department do not have electrical competences." I mean, it is pity that even Mumbai, where such tall buildings are coming up and we call those departments very good, there are no electrical engineers with them. So how do you make those poor people responsible for electrical fires? And when 80% of fires are happening which are electrical, why can't our country think about it? The urban development departments, the central government. So you will not believe, today morning I got message from him that he's going to Chief Secretary of Government and he's going to help us reach the central government. He said nobody has even talked about it till this time, that such a desire, such a requirement could be there. So I said, "Sir, this is something probably I thought everybody is aware that electrical inspector deals with only premises till the HT level, and within the building, there is no role of electrical inspector, or it is left to the individual developer, builder, or that property owner. So this is a very, very big disconnect, and the projects of size which are coming up now in the nation requires different thinking and expert, and he is giving a fire permission without understanding of various services which are running in those buildings, which is causing this disaster. So I think a lot needs to be done, Gopal, and
Sure.
Thank you so much, Dharkar sir. And I know you keep on enlightening us as well as igniting the authorities to actually force them to take the actions what they were not doing for years. Thank you so much for doing that service for human service. Mr. Purna Chandra asking, will FRLS where is sufficient to prevent fire? So
I'll just
yeah.
No, if the question is FRLS,
Yeah.
it is as good or as bad as PVC. So if you, the basic reason is you're going to pay a little more of FRLS, but it will not give you any safety at all. So if you want safety, then you should use LSOH. Do not look at FRLS as a better option, because you will spend money, but it is just as good as normal PVC insulated cable only.
Okay. There is one question from Swati Mailapalli. She's asking that, is there any electrical hazard there where we will use two different materials are using as a conducting mediums like aluminum lungs or connecting to the copper busbars without using bimetallic lungs or buses? So
I will take this question because the copper has got creep resistant. So for any type of connection, copper is suitable for it, and so there won't be any hazard. But for aluminium, you need to use bimetallic lugs and kind of things, and a lot of other materials not necessary. Otherwise, there will be problem of fire after some time.
There's a question from Mr. Soumitra Banerjee is asking that why solid type of conductor are based over the same conductor area with a bunch of conductor?
See, solid conductor is always, because the amount of copper always translates into more copper, better conductivity. So ideally, a solid conductor is recommended. But solid conductor has its own problem in terms of flexibility. You can't run it on bends and corners. You cannot run it. And at the end of the day, you need to have a fine balance between workability, practical aspects, and flexibility. So that is why a bunch conductor is recommended. But at the same time, when we mention about bunch conductors, class 2, which has a strand die of 0.3 mm is recommended. So I hope that answers Mr. Banerjee's question. You asked why solid type of conductor are best. So solid is best, of course, yes. But then you have hardly any manufacturer who offers, because at one point in time, probably in early 70s, solid conductor was being used. But then later we had an issue with the imports. So the entire industry changed over to bunch conductor with marginal reduction in conductivity. But then it still gives you good amount of conductivity, provided class 2 conductors are used.
For flexibility and for better use for the user conditions, it is the class 2 conductor is only preferable.
Great, sir. So I was having one question for Mr. Dharkar, sir. So, Mr. Dharkar, you are the national chair for FSI Suraksha Index, that is the first global index to rate safety and security of buildings. So, how is the acceptance of this particular rating? Could you just let us know about that?
Thank you for that question, sir. I think we have already taken out our pilot projects, and we are about to launch that commercially, and it will be soon available, I think maximum 1.5 months time. We did do ratings for close to 10 buildings in different cities for various types of buildings like hospitals, hotels, high-rise buildings, high-rise commercial, high-rise residential buildings, the way the current buildings are being rated, and it will bring new, I would say, audit processes for the fire and life safety in the country.
So is it going to be a kind of
for that question?
Yeah, is it going to be a mandatory rating for the buildings? Could you...
No. It is nothing to do with mandatory. It is nothing to do with fire permission. So like a green building certification for buildings where either Graha or CII or ASSOCHAM or USGBC is rating the building, it doesn't have any mandatory implications.
So what will be the validity period of that rating?
So 3 years is what we have suggested currently, and we will review after it gets launched and how the acceptance comes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you again, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, Mr. Devdas Goswami, Mr. Balachandran Dharman, and Mr. S. Gopakumar for answering those questions. It was my pleasure having you today. We hope you have enjoyed this session thoroughly. And this session was powered by Captain Electrical Industries. We thank Knowledge Partner, International Copper Association India, Safety Partner Remedies Earthing Systems Private Limited, and co-sponsor Gupta Power Infrastructure Limited.
For more updates, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon.